Contact, right! And you're back on the firing line with Matt and Joe.
How you guys doing today?
Well, hey, you guys check out our new intro. Something totally cool. Matt put it all together, and I think it's pretty awesome.
Yep, I'm trying. We're working on it. First time I've worked with the editing stuff like that. So maybe this means the videos will be getting better. Let's hope.
Exactly. It's always a learning experience, I think, for both of us as we go into these things. So.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of the fun. Is we went from radio to this. I mean, off subject completely, but yeah, you know, we've learned a lot, and we are learning. So yeah, give us a break, and it will get better. Things will get getting better. So on our on the firing line Facebook page, we asked a question about what's the most common malfunction, jam, all kinds of stuff that happens to your firearm. So let's talk about like some of the basic ones. I mean, and really we wanted to address how to fix.
Yeah, you know, and we thought we'd kind of do it as, in an installment kind of thing. So we'll work with one malfunction and then come out with another video with another malfunction, so that you get at least the basics on how to start working with it. Later on, we're also going to start talking about when you should use it and how you should use it.
Right, right.
So,
because I mean, if we try to show all the malfunctions, we could talk 20 minutes on each one. But we just want to give you, okay, so this one today, and then we'll make videos, and that way you can go and check them, use them for reference, whatever it is.
Right, and just because you know how to use a malfunction, I mean, just because you know how to work a malfunction doesn't mean that you're going to win the fight without knowing when to use it and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
so
no, it's just
that's really important, because the last thing you want to do is just stand there doing a malfunction change.
And that tends to happen a lot. People will be tactically sound and taking cover and stuff, but once they actually get a jam or something happens to their gun, that's when the head comes up and they expose themselves a little more. I've seen it in training, so I mean, yeah.
So we're going to try to do some more videos on that as well. But today we want to talk about, guess what? The misfire and tap and rack.
So a misfire can happen in a couple of ways here. This is a Joe's M&P. It's unloaded here. Unloaded?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Let me just double check. Yep, clear.
All right. When you want to shoot the camera, man.
We also have some magazines here. You can see the followers. They're unloaded as well.
Snap caps and the dummy rounds. So we don't have any live ammunition, so I don't want to hear it. So usually a failure to fire is when you're ready to shoot and you get a click and the gun does not go off. Basically.
That's probably the worst sound in the world.
Yeah, and so the loudest sound you'll ever hear is a click when you expect the gun. So usually one of two things happens. Either the round is not getting picked up off of the magazine.
So,
you
can I give you an example? Here's something right here. So if we were to install the magazine, and in some cases we don't get it all the way seated, and you let the slide go back, you may or may not get a round out of it. In that case we did, because this is a nice gun. No, just kidding. But here's another one. So I'm going to bring the gun up just like that. So maybe a hand kind of gets in there, you're in a rush, and you're not paying attention, doing your job correctly, and you rack that gun, you do come out to fire, and you are going to get a dead trigger. At that point, we like to tap and rack so that you can get the magazine seated. That is, if that's the problem. In some cases, it might not be the magazine at all. It could just be the round itself. Because as we now know, there is a round in the firearm.
Yep.
And if we were to come up and pull the trigger again, this time it's because of the ammunition.
Yeah, that time, yeah. If it goes click that time, because now you're seated.
Exactly.
Everything, the slide's forward, so there's nothing.
At that time, we're going to still tap and rack. And what that does is gets that bad round out of the firearm and then puts another one into the firearm so that you can continue shooting the gun.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and put this gun open. I know that nothing went in there because we only put 2 snaps in there. But at least you're getting the idea of how that works. We can do it again a couple more times just to make sure that you've got it.
Make sure your gun is empty. That's why we call this dry practice, not dry fire. And just get that motion down, just...
You're going to notice something else too. One thing we want to stress too is now that he's got a better angle, because over here it was kind of hard for me to show you, but here we can kind of see that. You notice when he tapped and he racked, see the gun is tilted to an angle right here. I think that that's something important that you should be practicing in your malfunction, because what that does is allow a round to actually roll out.
Yeah, so
you know, or shoot out this direction.
The ejection port always is going to throw your casings to the right. So you want to tilt the gun right when you do your rack tap, so that you expel the dud or the bad round or whatever it is. You're basically letting gravity help you out. Whereas if you were doing it this way, or if you're left-handed and maybe you rolled it this way, there's a very good chance that it could fall right back into the chamber, and now you have a double feed or a stovepipe or something to deal with.
Yep, and that's
So
scary.
even if you're left-handed, just make sure you make it so that the right side is pointing down.
There we go. We'll give you one more example of what it's like if you actually have a round that does not go off. This is the misfire.
Okay, so I would click.
And there it is.
So you saw it eject. It was just a nice firm tap. Rack. When you do rack, what I like to do is kind of over rack, because I really like to work that spring. So I say go back until I kind of hit my chest. So this is going to lock the slide back on this one, but I'll go. And you see how my hand came back, and that way you're getting the full spring power.
Yeah, power stroke that thing.
Yeah,
Get right into it.
And
a lot of times I like to actually feel, not like Mr. Superman, you know, like that, but just enough to let you know that I've actually come loose and hit my arm.
Same thing with me, exactly. And that is the exact reason why we do not use a slide catch as a slide release.
That's very true.
Because it does not provide the spring tension that pulling it back an extra quarter inch and letting it rip does.
Yeah.
So
we've added a whole bunch more, but I think that we've got the gist of what a malfunction like that would be and how to work through it, the misfire, and also failure to feed, tap and rack. We've already taught you something here today. If you haven't learned this before, I think most people that are experienced shooters already know this by heart, or at least are practicing it all the time. But it's something that you should get into your repertoire. You should be practicing that as you're going out to the range and stuff like that. Have friends set you up with rounds that won't go off. These snap caps are fantastic for that. So,
and
homework.
real quick, I'm not going to make an issue out of it. Revolvers, you can have the same issue. In that case, you just keep pulling the trigger.
Exactly.
Just keep letting that cylinder spin till the next round goes off.
And don't forget your rifle. Same thing, tap and rack.
Yeah.
We don't have any snap caps here today. We have them out at our range. So,
right. I mean, you know, without a magazine in it, though, all you basically are doing is slapping the bottom of the magazine, racking the charging handle.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and we'll do some follow-up videos with rifles and stuff. So you guys go ahead, leave your comments below if you have any questions. How do you clear malfunction? What is the most common malfunction for you? Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on The Firing Line with Matt and Joe.
Awesome. Have a great time.